Hello, Abnormal Family. Good to see you guys. We had a really good live Saturday night. If you haven't seen it, I would suggest that you go see it. I'll repost it on Facebook and in the community on YouTube so that you can go find it. Man, we had a really good guest. I'm hoping to have him back soon, and we got a lot of new guests lined up. It's going to be coming on the show, so don't miss that. I hope you all are having a great Sunday. I hope you're spending it with family, making memories, and good food. That's what I'll be doing. So let's get into this encounter. In July of 2018, I was living on my parents' farm in rural Kentucky. Being an upperclassman in high school, I was glad to have the summer respite that provided much needed distractions from my grueling studies. The farm was small, roughly 20 or so acres, of crop-laden land. We grew corn, green beans, several types of sweet peppers, and even watermelons every once in a while. My mom loved to sit by some raised beds and grow tulips, petunias, and/or orchids or two. I would help out by moving large bags of seeds from point A to point B in the front loader of my tractor. My dad taught me early on how to ride, mow, and carry items in a tractor. So by the time of this encounter, I was able to maneuver the thing with an ease that only comes with experience that you would learn on a farm as a young man. Another important piece of information relating to my encounter is that we all have large hills that rest perpendicular to the country house. The hill is beautiful and wild, flourished with every species of insect you could imagine, mammals and other critters. On the day in question, I had to do my least favorite chore before doing things on the tractor, which was cleaning out the chicken coop. It was an unpleasant experience, and I hated the smell of moldy pine shavings, but I got it done. Now it was time for the fun things. I also know that the tasks I could perform on the tractor. I went to our shed where we stored equipment, opened the sliding door, and beheld the magnificent red Kubota. It was small for a tractor, but it was the perfect size for what we needed on the farm. I checked the diesel level, topped off the tank, and hopped into the seat. It started up, the massive engine roaring eagerly to life, and I got to work. The first thing to do was to move 5 bags of chicken feed from my dad's truck to a storage area for the chicken supplies. I quickly finished with the task, and I looked at my list for the next assignment, which was to mow the hill that I mentioned above. I needed to mow it so that some people could come to our property to convert the piles of cut grass into usable hay bales. So with the profit from the hay bales in mind, I eagerly aligned the tractor up with a portion of the hill, lowered the brush cutter extension to an adequate level, and I began mowing. About 20 minutes in, I had mowed several strips back and forth along the hill. With sweat drippings from my brow, he meant sweat. I'm sorry about that, guys. I braved the summer heat and I proceeded to make a strip along the tree line. For no apparent reason, a blur of dark gray fur burst from the trees, and it seemed to glide across the field into the trees that were on the opposite side of the hill. I don't think I would have seen it had I not made such a quick glance, and then seen the commotion as it initially exited the forest. Thinking it was a coyote or something of that sort, I stopped my tractor, grabbed my phone, and texted my dad, who was on the opposite side of the farm cutting down some dead trees that had fallen from a recent storm. "Spotted a coyote or something on the hill. Stay alert," I typed. We took coyotes seriously. Since our chickens commonly roam free in a large area designated for them, they could be easily harmed and killed by a predator. With that in mind, I resumed my mowing and eventually forgot about the whole thing entirely. However, when I was mowing through a particularly thick patch of grass, the furry creature ran out of the woods to my right. This time, it purposely avoided the brush cutter blades as it jumped on the back of the tractor and stood still for a moment. That's when I was able to get a good look at it. It vaguely resembled a coyote or a wolf, but its limbs and paws were completely wrong. The paws, in fact, were not paws at all. They were fur-covered hands. Its arms and legs were too muscly to be those of an ordinary canine, even in the daylight. Its eyes had an eerie, unsettling, intelligent glow to them, like the thing was calculating every possible move. Its face resembled that of a canine animal, but the way its skin drooped and was detached in some places made its face look mangled. The creature looked utterly wrong, from its head to its misshapen toes. The creature tried to climb up to where I was, and after the first failed attempt, my brain finally started to work again, and I went into fight or flight mode. I chose to fight, so I swerved my tractor from side to side, eventually flinging the thing off. Then I sped up and hit the side with my front loader. I thought that would kill it, but it only looked mildly hurt as it hightailed it back to the woods, limping. After that experience, I finished a couple of more strips before calling it a day. I was too overwhelmed, too safely to operate this tractor, so I did the smart thing and I took it back to the shed. God, I was shaking so hard, I was so afraid, I was so scared, and I knew my dad would make fun of me. While I was sitting in the shed, I heard howls coming from the tree line to where I was just mowing. Then I started hearing what sounded like something beating on a tree. And whenever I looked up to where I'd been mowing, there was not just one, but there was three. And they were beating the trees with what looked like clubs or maybe bigger tree limbs. And then the howl. They all started howling. God, how I was afraid. I knew it was meant for me, for what I had done, that I had injured one of them and that they were so mad at me. I told my dad when he returned to the house what I had seen, and he told me I'd probably just seen a wolf that had jumped onto the tractor that had got scared. He didn't want to get ran over in the high grass, and my imagination probably took it from there. My dad was wore out as I was too. On the farm you get very tired, and as the sun goes down, well, you pretty much fall into bed. We all went to bed that night. That's when I heard the scratching on my window. Then I heard what sounded like a wet hand screeching down the window, making those eerie squeaks. I dared not look. I just laid there, not moving, hoping that it could not see my legs through the thin white curtains that hung on my window. My room was fairly dark, but the moonlight was shining in, and I prayed that it could not see me. I laid as still as I could. The next morning, when we got up, we walked around to the back of the house, and I looked at my window just to see. And there on my window, something had put all 6 fingers on my window and had smeared its fingerprints from the top to the bottom. My dad noticed right after I did, and he asked me what I'd been doing and why I'd dirtied up my windows, and I told him whatever I seen in the woods that night had came up to the house and had dirtied up my window. He gave me a look like he thought I was lying, and I told him that I wasn't lying. I tried to tell him the story again, and he told me if I didn't quit with my nonsense, that he was going to leave me at the house and go do the work by himself. So I went with my dad, and while we were up there, I received a text from my dad. It said exactly, "Get the F home." When I went home, my dad come screaming off the top of the hill in his old blue Chevy pickup truck as fast as he could drive it, and I've never seen him drive it like this. I'm talking hitting every hole in the pasture. Slides it into the driveway, he jumps out and yells for my mom to call 911. While my dad was mowing, he said he'd stopped to check a tire on the tractor that he thought might have been low. And while he was checking the tire, something from under the tractor grabbed him around the ankle and pulled him down and halfway under the tractor before he was able to get loose and to climb back onto the tractor. Now the thing is, when my mom asked him, "Do you think it was a wolf or a coyote that got a hold of you?" he looked right at her and said, "Wolves and coyotes don't have hands." This thing grabbed me and tried to pull me under the tractor. The game wardens arrived. They done their reports and everything, and my dad gave them the authority to come onto our property. The next day, 4 brand new cab over green John Deere tractors mowed our complete field to the ground in one day. We never had any problems since then, but I truly think that they came and got rid of the places for these things to hide so that they could get rid of them. What do you guys think? Well, it sounds like they knew exactly what they were doing. I mean, they came to at least get rid of the hiding places and to maybe not give it a place to hide to make it move on. I'm sure they knew what it was. I believe they always know what it was. And they either took care of it or they knew what to do to cause it to move on and get rid of the problem. Could be either of the two. I hope you all enjoyed this one, guys. Until next time, keep your head on a swivel. Don't be something's dinner. And remember, they might just pull you under a tractor and eat you.